There was no classified information, as I understand it.
There was no classified material that was shared.
No classified material was sent on this messaging thread.
There's no units, no locations, no routes, no flight paths, no sources, no methods, no classified information.
For months, the president and his top officials have maintained no classified information was shared when the Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth, discussed pending military strikes in Yemen in a Signal group chat back in March that had inadvertently included a reporter from The Atlantic. But tonight, sources tell CNN a Pentagon watchdog has gotten evidence that the military plans that Hegseth shared were in fact taken from a U.S. Central Command document that was marked classified at the time.
All right, folks, we are briefly taking a bit of a detour from our ongoing coverage of the Trump-Epstein scandal to return to the OG scandal of the second Trump administration, the first major scandal of the second Trump administration, aka Signalgate. Y'all remember that? When former Fox News host and current Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth accidentally leaked highly sensitive military information on an unauthorized app to a group of people, which included the editor-in-chief of the newspaper, the publication The Atlantic. And then they spent weeks and months denying, including under oath, that included any sort of classified information. Well, it turns out Donald Trump, Tulsi Gabbard, Pete Hegseth, and many other top Trump administration officials have just been caught in a lie because the Pentagon's own independent watchdog has evidence that the information that Hegseth leaked was classified, and we have to talk about it. But before we do, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, we're actually look at the Washington Post reporting on this before we go back to a different clip I want to show you on CNN where this panel is, or this topic is being discussed. But Washington Post exclusive, Hegseth signal messages came from an email classified secret, watchdog told. The revelation contradicts the Trump administration's longstanding claims that no classified information was shared by the Defense Secretary's account during the Signalgate scandal. The Pentagon's independent watchdog has received evidence that messages from Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's Signal account previewing a U.S. bombing campaign in Yemen were derived from a classified email labeled secret/no-foreign, people familiar with the matter said. The revelation appears to contradict long-standing claims by the Trump administration that no classified information was divulged in unclassified group chats that critics have called a significant security breach. And it's important to remember that you could easily make the case that this was the biggest national security breach in modern American history. Now, they'll turn around and say, well, nobody died during it. Yeah, but that's due to sheer dumb cosmic luck. You don't get credit for your screw-up not resulting in the deaths of American pilots and others when you had no control over that. That is just sheer roll of the dice luck for which you get no credit. The messages about the bombing campaign, posted in at least 2 chats using the unclassified messaging app Signal, are the focus of an inquiry by the Defense Department Inspector General's office requested in April by Republican and Democratic members of the Senate Armed Services Committee. So I want to again note, this isn't like an outside group that has nothing to do. It's not a group of liberals. It's not, it's not Midas Touch. It is a Defense Department Inspector General's office. These are the people employed by the federal government to monitor various agencies and departments for corruption and wrongdoing under multiple administrations. The strike plans had been shared in a classified email with more than a dozen defense officials by General Michael Eric Kurula, the top commander overseeing U.S. military operations in the Middle East, and then were posted in the unclassified group chats by an account affiliated with Hegseth on March 15th, shortly before the United States began attacking Houthi militants, the people with the matter said. Familiar with the matter said. The secret classification of Kurula's email, which was not previously reported, denoted that the information was classified at a level at which unauthorized disclosure could be expected to cause serious damage to national security. I want to repeat that because this is vital. The security classification of Kurula's email, which was not previously been reported, denoted that the information was classified at a level which unauthorized disclosure could be expected to cause serious damage to national security. The no foreign label meant it was also not meant for anyone who is a foreign national, including senior officials of close allies of the United States. In accordance with government regulations, Kurula sent his sensitive message over a classified system, the Secret Internal Protocol Router Network, or SIPRNet, Four people familiar with the matter said, speaking on the condition of anonymity to avoid reprisal by the Trump administration. The message included a rundown of strike plans for the day, including when bombing was expected to begin and what kind of aircraft and weapons were to be used. The disclosure of the sensitive information drew both criticism and bewilderment because the group chat inadvertently included a journalist from The Atlantic magazine who is a frequent critic of Donald Trump. The scandal has caused numerous Democrats and at least one Republican to call for Hegseth's firing, and it dogged the defense secretary through a series of congressional hearings in June. Senior administration officials have repeatedly insisted that no classified information was shared on Signal, though national security experts and former top military officials have said that that is highly doubtful. Administration officials doubled down on those claims in new statements to the Washington Post, touting actions in the military campaign against Houthis in Yemen earlier this year and more recent strikes against Iranian nuclear facilities. Quote, the department stands behind its previous statements. No classified information was shared via Signal, Sean Parnell, a Pentagon spokesman, said in an emailed statement. But as we've said repeatedly, nobody was texting war plans, and the success of the department's recent operations, from Operation Rough Rider to Operation Midnight Hammer, are proof that our operational security and discipline are top-notch. Anna Kelly, a White House spokeswoman, pointed out that the Houthis, a militant group long affiliated with Iran, have since agreed to a ceasefire and criticized the Post for continuing to scrutinize what had happened in the Signal affair, even as the Defense Department Inspector General continues to do the same at the request of lawmakers. Quote, this administration has proven it can carry out missions with precision and certainty, as evidenced by the successful operations that obliterated Iran's nuclear facilities and killed terrorists, Kelly said in a statement. She added, quote, it is shameful that the Washington Post continues to publish unverified articles based on alleged emails they haven't personally reviewed in an effort to undermine a successful military operation and resurrect a non-issue that no one has cared about for months. Now, again, just a lot to unpack there. When you have a major national security breach, and that breach is not successfully exploited, you don't get credit for the lack of casualties on your side. That would rather be like somebody who drinks and drives while intoxicated, drives under the influence, manages to make it home without killing themselves or somebody, and then telling police or their spouses or whoever, can't be mad at me, I didn't kill anybody. You don't get credit for the sheer dumb cosmic luck that your recklessness, your stupidity did not, in this instance, materially endanger the lives of others, that nobody rather actually suffered the consequences of the danger you put them in. You don't get credit for that. They want credit for this. Hey, we screwed up. And it just so happened that our screw up didn't, in this particular instant, result in American pilots being imperiled by Houthis, right? No, you don't get credit for that. And the reason that nobody's cared about Signalgate is because you all have screwed up so spectacularly in so many other ways. Your failures with respect to tariffs, on trade, on civil rights, all these things have occupied public attention. But you all have not been vindicated in Signalgate. You were never vindicated, and this reporting only makes it worse. In seeking comment from the White House, the Post disclosed that 4 people familiar with Guerrilla's email verified its secret no foreign classification. The apparent creator of the main Signal group at issue, former White House National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, was ousted from his job less than 2 months after the episode was revealed in March. Numerous top administration officials were also part of the group chat, including Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard. Waltz, now Trump's nominee to be U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, came under criticism last week during his confirmation hearing for refusing to concede the unclassified group chat was a mistake. And it goes into examples, but he's unrepentant. Waltz, who like Hegseth served as an army officer before entering politics, also insisted that, quote, no classified information was shared. He did not immediately respond to a request for comment. At a House Armed Services Committee hearing in June, Hegseth, under questioning by Representative Seth Moulton, refused to say whether the Yemen strike details later shared on Signal initially came to his office over a classified system. The open event was not an appropriate venue to address such questions, Hegseth argued. Quote, classifications of any information in an ongoing operation that was successful are not things that could be disclosed in a public forum, he said. Moulton, a Marine Corps veteran, disputed that. Quote, it's not classified to disclose whether or not it was classified, the congressman said. Quote, and in fact, DoD regulations state that any classified information has to be labeled with its classification, which is a really good point, right? You seeing a folder which says classified is not inherently criminal, right? The label is there to warn people who are not authorized, hey, do not open this folder and review this information. It's classified. So the classification is publicly displayed. Hegseth is just really, really, really stupid and a terrible but prolific liar. Moulton pressed Hegseth on whether he was trying to assert that the information he received from Guerrilla's headquarters was unclassified. Hegseth dodged. Quote, "I'm not trying to say anything." The Defense Department Inspector General's office declined to comment and has a general policy of not commenting on open cases. Its review, the findings of which are expected to be released within a few months, poses another threat to Hegseth, whose 6 months tenure as Defense Secretary has been marked by infighting and dysfunction, including the firing of numerous senior military officials and political appointees on Hegseth's own team and abrupt voluntary departures by others. Government regulations allow for the Defense Secretary to declassify and downgrade classified information produced by the Pentagon, but the Trump administration has yet to claim that such a process was carried out before the sensitive information was shared over Signal. Two people familiar with the evidence the Inspector General's office is reviewing said that they were aware of no such discussion having occurred before the scandal erupted. So let's see here. And again, it goes into just like the detail about this as well. But the bottom line is this. This is devastating. This is absolutely devastating for Hegseth. Now, his good fortune is that this was revealed during the ongoing Epstein scandal, right? So this is being buried by other higher profile scandals. But the reason we're covering this is because this is a big deal. This is, again, arguably the most egregious national security breach in modern American history. And unlike the alleged security breaches by the Obama administration and Biden administration, Hegseth isn't sitting under oath for 11 hours answering questions and truthfully about the situation like Hillary Clinton, for example. And nor is the Trump administration admitting to any screw up, any mistake, any sort of recklessness. There's no humility. There's no self-reflection. They're doubling down. So it's the biggest national security breach in modern American history, revealing the incompetence of the Trump administration, and the Trump administration continues to lie about it. And now we have increasing evidence that what we knew almost certainly to be a lie is in fact a lie, coming from the Pentagon's own watchdog, its own Inspector General's office. And this is something that the Democrats also need to make room for to relentlessly hammer both Hegseth and the Trump administration collectively on, because they swore under oath that none of this was classified. So I want to play one last clip to really drive that point home.
Do you think that there will be any consequences for Hegseth, or no, it doesn't matter?
I think we're past that, honestly, Jake. I think we're missing the point that mission was incredibly successful. The strikes on Iran have been incredibly successful. Recruitment has been up. I think that they should have admitted a mistake on that from the very beginning. They should have just admitted a mistake and would say, we're not going to do this again. We recognize that Signal is not a secure communication vehicle, and classified documents shouldn't be communicated that way. There's also, the White House Situation Room is there to help you have these sorts of conversations in a very classified manner. So it was a big mistake, but they should have just accepted the mistake and said, we're not going to do it again.
The thing is, I don't disagree with what you're saying, forest for the trees, but not only did they say there was nothing classified, he said it under oath before Congress.
Yeah, Hillary Clinton would also like a word. I mean, the past decade has been defined. The one thing that unites all the parties is sort of an inability to protect your classified information, and then watching those stories be weaponized. And again, the statement under oath also could become a problem. But the idea that they're going to just sort of brush off sharing classified information on Signal, well, I believe it was just yesterday Trump was talking about Hillary Clinton's potential misuse of a private server and potential mishandling of classified information.
I was going to say, Mark knows this probably better than anybody from serving in the administration. This is a continuation of them not admitting to any level of wrongdoing. And for, this party, the Republican Party, to have called out Hillary Clinton, I think rightfully so to a certain extent, on, using a server that was not protected, you have to have that same level of upset around Pete Hegseth, who many of us knew was lying when he said that it wasn't protected information to begin with. Now, what is the next move going to be? Is he going to say that he has the authority to declassify, which is what we heard from Donald Trump when he got raided at Mar-a-Lago with documents that he shouldn't have had? Is this going to be more of the same? And I think that with this administration, we can also probably guess that he has used this method more than a few times when it comes to classified information over Signal, because we know.
And she's right. Amisha Cross, who, by the way, I got to meet her at the DNC. She's amazing. She's everywhere, just bringing the fight on these cable news networks, these debates. It's important to remember that after Signalgate occurred, there was Signalgate 2.0, where Hegseth was busted using Signal to send information. Or maybe it wasn't Signal, but he was sending also military information to his wife and his brother, or maybe brother-in-law. But it was definitely his wife and members of his family. I can't remember off the top of my head. But like that, we found that out just weeks after this whole thing. So it's a total shit show. And again, obviously the Epstein situation is dominating the news, but this is not a nothing burger. This is confirmation that we have evidence from the government's own, inspector general, their own watchdog for the Pentagon, that Hegseth lied when he said that this wasn't classified information, that no classified information was sent. And the classified information was sent in the biggest national security breach in modern American history when he sent this shit on an unclassified app, on an unauthorized app, which included a journalist. The whole thing is a disaster. Make room to share this video, to share this revelation. Not only is it just objectively important, but it also has the added benefit of applying more pressure to the Trump administration and pointing out to the American people that in so many vectors, the Trump administration is objectively incompetent and dangerous. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.